Thank you very much, Carlo. So welcome to everyone to this second Info Day, also from my side. Before starting into the content, some, let me say, logistical information. You will see in a very few moments in the chat function that we have launched a pool, and this pool is useful for you to pre-select in which breakout room you want to be later on at the end of the morning for the matchmaking sessions. So please don't hesitate already to select right now in the pool that normally will appear either in the pool function of your Teams application or in the chat, and so that you can select the different breakout room where you want to participate. There are 5 breakout rooms. Each of them cover different topics of this call. You can find the topics in the agenda, but my communication colleagues will also write in the chat for each breakout room which exact topics we'll be covering, so that I don't waste so much time now to explain it to you, but you can see in the chat the different topics that we're covering in the breakout room. So now going into the rest of the day, I will explain to you the call itself. So the call itself is based around one single integrated research and innovation program, which is Europe's Rail. For those of you who are not yet familiar with it, you can see on your screen how we have structured the research and innovation program, and it is structured around 3 key pillars. One is the system pillar, which it's an instrument that we have put in place in order to coordinate with the entire sector the evolution of the rail system in terms of how it will have to operate in the future and how easy it will be for the future system to integrate technological innovation coming from research and innovation activities. And we're doing that by looking into harmonized architecture or a standardized interfaces that will facilitate all of that. I won't go too much into the detail about the system pillar because it's not the core of this call itself, but for you just to be aware that the solutions that will be achieved through the research and innovation program will be also part of a more system approach and system thinking, also to ensure the successive migration of this solution into the market, and therefore the deployment, which is the third pillar that you can see on the bottom, that we're going also to reflect upon in order to close the entire innovation cycle. In terms of other type of research and innovation activities, in particular in terms of technological innovation, we have, you can see the innovation pillar. In the innovation pillar, we are making a distinction between what we call flagship projects and large-scale demonstration, and then exploratory and other research and innovation activities, including fundamental research. The idea is that we will have a true flagship project, significant research and innovation activities done at a high TRL level. And this has been launched with the first call for proposal of Europe's Rail. While in this second call for proposal of Europe's Rail, we're covering the other part, which deals with exploratory and fundamental research, and also other activities that you will see in a moment, and that also the previous colleagues already explained to you. Another important aspect for you to be aware is that the Europe's Rail Research Program is based on the needs for the future, and we have set a set of key performance indicator in order to measure how the research and innovation activities perform against these needs. And you can see here in your screen a few set of expected system impact that we would like to have from the different research and innovation activities which are performed, as I explained to you, as a system. So we will monitor both the single project achievements, and also that's why it's important for you to set a clear set of key performance indicators based on your research and innovation, and how these will contribute against the impacts that you can see on the screen, which is all about creating a single European railway area that is performant and efficient and competitive. How do you navigate inside this program? It is apparently complex, but actually it's quite well structured. You can find here a pyramid of priority documents. We start with the Europe's rail regulation, which defines the framework under which we operate. The Europe's Rail Master Plan, which will define the objectives and the key priority areas that we are going to undertake in terms of research and innovation activities. And then I think especially for you, the core of the document will be the multi-annual work program, which set the research and innovation activities more into the detail that we would like to undertake in the upcoming 10 years. And you can see there that we have divided the activities accordingly to what I presented to you before. And especially we're also mentioning the needs of covering exploratory and other research activities, but also one flagship area, which is the flagship area 7 of innovative rail-guided transport modes, which is actually also part of this call, and also you will see later on. And the last bit, it is where most of the details are provided, which is inside the annual work programs. And for this work program, we have detailed 10 topics. And in these 10 topics, you will see later on what are also the expected outcome that we have set. In the Europe's Rail Work Program, you can also see the budget, and in particular for this call for proposal for exploratory research is the second line that you can see on the screen. We are foreseeing a value of the actions meaning projects that we will be financing of 14.5 million euros with a co-funding rate of 12.5. And you will see later on the reason why there is these 2 additional million of expected non-funding activities, which is derived on the type of research and innovation which is done. These are the 10 topics. Here is just, let me say, a little bit of administration so that you can see on the destination topics the coding itself. So it is the 2022 call of Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking. And you can see that 3 topics deals with flagship area 7 that you can find described in the multi-annual work program, and more into the detail for each topics in the call text. And then we have 7 topics that deals with EXP-R, which stands for exploratory research. The other thing that you can see, for those of you who are not yet fully familiar, are the type of action. The type of action, we have 3 types of action in this call. RIA stands for Research and Innovation Action, and generally cover a technological readiness level from 1 to 5. And are activities which are co-funded at 100% of your estimated cost. The expected TRL, it followed the definition of Horizon Europe's TRL. And you can see that for this call, we're covering also ITRL, but largely it's a call destined to exploratory research and therefore lower TRL activities. In terms of type of action, you can see also that we have innovation actions, and innovation action, it's IA. Innovation actions are research activities at higher TRL, so 6 to 9 potentially. and the CSA stand for coordinated and support actions, which are activities which deals with support actions towards the joint undertaking. For CSA activities, the TRL is not relevant, and the TRL that we have indicated in the call text is the expected TRL that each proposal is supposed to reach. It's an indication. You can also go over this TRL and it will be fine, but it is an indication for you also to understand that, for example, for some topics, we're not expecting a ready on the shelf solution, but we're actually expecting research if we are saying that is TRL 1, 2, 3. There is one topic where we haven't defined a TRL level, so we leave it open to the all of you to submit the most appropriate TRL. The other thing that you can see in this table, which is just a summary of what you can find in the Europe's Reward Program and in the call itself, is the expected EU contribution per project funded. This is in million euros. And also you can see that we are expecting, and we also communicated that in the call text, to have one project funded per topic. The reason is quite simple. The topics are quite different from each other, but they are all relevant for our program. And the sum of each topics make the entire budget that we have available, those 12.5 million euros. Of course, this does not mean that we could not finance, for example, two projects under one topic. For example, in the event where both projects submit a proposal with lower funding, or in the event where some proposal we don't finance, for example, a proposal in one topic because it does not reach the enough quality for passing the threshold and get financed. The deadline of this call, you can see also in the screen, is the 14th of December. Please ensure to submit your proposal well in advance than the 14th of December. Several submissions are possible to be done in parallel, in succession. So start to submit basically as from now, so that you avoid surprises in case you have some IT issues. The call structure of the topic, it's basically under two heading. One heading is called expected outcome, which is described which developments we are foreseeing for each destination topics and what are the links with other destination. Destination is simply the name of the grouping of different topics. In this case, we have destination 7, which deals with the first 3 topics that are flagship area 7, and then destination 8 that deals with the other topics. But we are also indicating links with the destinations that we have financed with the first call of Europe's Rail. And you can find it then later on all the detail into the call text, and probably also my colleagues will explain to you the expected links with previous calls. The scope identify instead the capabilities and enabler that should develop through research and innovation activities. On purpose, in this call, we haven't been very much prescriptive, so it's actually quite open in terms of the expected capabilities and enabler. We are providing some indication to you, but really, because our exploratory research activities, you should also don't hesitate to propose something in addition or something slightly different. And with this, I conclude my short introduction to this call text, and you will have the possibility to ask a question and answer immediately after the presentation given by my colleagues, and I will then provide the floor to Sébastien Denis, who will present to you Destination 7.
Thank you very much, Giorgio, for this introduction of the program and the administrative aspect of the call. So indeed, my name is Sébastien Denis. I'm working as a senior program manager into the UPSWEL joint undertaking, and I will present today the 3 topics associated to Destination 7, so the innovation on new approaches for guided transport modes. So according to the tab that is associated to this presentation, my intention is not to go into very much details of every of the call, but really to give the main highlight and the point of attention of the 3 topics. So the 3 topics that are covered today in the call 2022 are the first batch, I would say, of topic that will contribute to the objective of the FA7 program. So therefore, you will see that the TRL level that is expected from these 3 topics are very various from one to the other, but the overall objective are really the one that are set in the multi-annual work program. So if I take into account the first topic, this one will cover the conceptual development of automated multimodal mobility systems, so-called moving infrastructures. This is a call of 3 million euros of fundings, and the objective is to reach TRL 3.4. The code is divided into 3 work streams. The first work streams regarding the identification of use cases, business cases, /CBA for the operational concept. The second one on the moving infrastructure, the vessel and the operation system, so the pod part. And finally, a third work stream on the moving infrastructure, but more the carrier aspect, so including the locking system and the handling system. There is an associated planning to this call that is indicative, not binding. However, this is highly recommended to respect this planning because, as I said, this first topic is part of an overall program. So it's important that we are receiving the first output of this first call to set the next calls afterwards. So the first work stream has an indicated of 12 months, while the other have a 30 month of indicative schedule. I remind you that it is binding to answer to the 3 work stream, so not one of them and not the other. So you have to really to apply and to propose a proposal that will answer to the 3 work stream. So this information is true for this first call, but it's true for all the other calls. The second topic will cover an area linked to maglev, so the so-called technical development of maglev-derived system. It is a low TRL call, so TRL 2.3, divided in 2 work streams, one regarding the technical definitions, and the second one, the development of business case analysis, including feasibility studies and use cases. So the budget associated is 1.5 million of funds, and the indicative schedule is 12 months. So it's quite a short planning. However, this is very important for the GU to have the first feedback and the first output on this specific area before setting the next call on this area. The third call will be on the Hyperloop. This is an innovative action that aims to reach TRL 6. So this is a Hyperloop industrial roadmap and pilots divided in 2 work streams. The first one regarding the industrial roadmap, including business case in parallel to the regulatory framework run by the European Commission. And the second one, this is really the first approach to reach a proof of concept. So the TRL level is high to compare the 2 other topics. We are aiming to reach TRL 6. And the time that we think feasible to reach this output is 48 months. Okay. The specificity of the last topic, this one, so is that we are expecting to have on the top of the 2.3 million euros of fundings an external investment that is proposed by the proposer to create a leverage effects of 10 times. So basically, we're aiming to have an overall indicative budget of 23 million euros to cover these two work streams. That's finishing my high-level introduction of these three call as part of Destination 7, and I'm leaving the floor now to my colleague Javier.
Javier, just before you start, just to remind all the participants not to forget to choose the breakout room they would like to participate. In the chat, you still have the pool, which is live. So I will keep reminding you after each presentation. Back to you, Javier.
Thank you very much. Indeed, please submit your interest, because then we will be able to allocate it to these breakout rooms and discuss in detail later on with your comments and questions. But now, catching up on the continuing with the presentation, I'm Javier Ibáñez, also Senior Program Manager at Europe's Rail JU, and I will be introducing 4 of the topics of the Destination 8. You see here, this is related to the exploratory research and other activities that the JU is willing. I don't see the presentation. Yeah, now, yeah, for the next one, yeah. So I will be presenting the for this one. Thank you. These 4 topics. The first one is dealing with the new railway station concept and for green and social inclusive smart cities. As Giorgio mentioned also in the beginning, this topic is linked with the flagship area 4 that is dealing with sustainable and green rail systems within the first call of the JU. And the project stemming from this topic should develop a shared methodology for transforming existing stations or designing new ones into socio-technical systems operating as city greening engines for the surrounding environment. And in this context, the topic shall contribute as well to the outcomes mentioned in the research and innovation agenda of the JU. And this one of the topics dealing with it might be the development of analytical tools that will support the methodology to evaluate the cost and benefits of these solutions, the definition of sustainability indicators guiding this methodology. And then it's very important, and as stated also in the call text, that the implementation of this project will have at least 4 specific pilot living labs that should be developed in 4 different member states, and also including 1 station in regional areas serving capillary lines. So in that sense, we will be also covering this scope of work by investigating how the stakeholders and the citizenship and the citizens can benefit from these solutions in terms to when we are addressing new railway station concepts. The second one, in relation to the exploratory research, as you can see in the slide, is related to bridge dynamics. We have stated like the series of work streams that this topic is addressing. There are 11 work streams, but these work streams can be merged as needed for the proposal in order to make the proposal more efficient on the way you are planning it. But the content, just for your information, and it's important that you take note on this, should be addressed in full. Another important aspect within this topic is that there is a note provided by the European Union Agency for Railways, which is also referred in the call, and the name is ERA Technical Note on Work Needed for Closing TSI Open Point on Bridge Dynamics. This note has to be also considered, and the specific requirements described in this note needs to be addressed also in the proposal you might be preparing. So that's also a point for attention for you to consider for the preparation. And again, please note that this call cannot be answered without clear understanding of these technical specifications or requirements specified in this note. So in case you have any questions, or you may have any aspects in relation to the not completely understanding what is in the note, don't hesitate to contact the JU, so we can we are able to clarify any comments you may have or any questions you may have. On the fourth topic, on the exploratory research that has to do is always trying to reach and build a community of scientific research and enable this network of PhDs in Europe. The intention or the expected outcome from this call is that this network of research and innovation centers and academia can be fulfilled within members of different member states. Okay, in that sense, the proposal that we would be receiving, or the proposals to be received, should build this community of scientific research and this creation of network of universities and academia from these different member states, as I mentioned before, and associated countries to the Horizon Europe. And of course, is intended to create at least 6 to 10 PhD positions that should be addressing the technical or the topics that are described in the call. There are 6 specific topics defined in the call, and these would be the ones covering the activities with these PhD positions. And the last one, because then later on there will be another 4 on the exploratory research, is dealing with the European value chain for railway supply. In this sense, the project also coming or stemming from this topic it's expected to contribute to foster a resilient rail supply chain for the implementation of future needed rail innovations. And in that sense, and more specifically in these rail innovations, we are referring to increasing the access to the supply chain information and possibilities within the whole Europe, increasing resilience of the European Union rail products in the global supply chain, provision of confidence, and in particular to small and medium enterprises on the supply needs they may have, and also for the future innovations and their availabilities to be present. And also with the main scope, or with the aim to foster this global competitiveness of the European Union companies. So summarizing on this action, we should research, or you should provide the research on how to best address these challenges on the global value chain, identifying the supply chain needs for the railway system of the future. And with that brief summary and general view on the 4 topics, I give the floor to Giorgio, and then my colleague Emmanuel will continue with the rest of the topics. And happy to answer any questions later on. Thanks.
Thank you, Javier. Just before passing the floor to my colleague Manuel, I would like to just specify that in particular for the PhD topic, the topics for PhD that we have put in the call text are indicative. So we have wrote that these could be the areas to be followed for a PhD, but or other can be completely different, can be proposed, so are just indication. And to this aim, you can find already quite several questions being answered in the Q&A that you can find in the call itself under the funder and tender participant portal, or in our website, where such questions have been already replied to. So, Manuel, I pass the floor to you for your presentation of the next topics.
Okay, good morning to everybody. I have the pleasure to introduce to you Destination 8 exploratory research and other activities. So next slide, please. Basically, we are a bit running out of time, so I would like to squeeze everything in 1 minute if possible. If it takes a bit longer, my apologies. First one, it's about standardized offer, contract management for agile access to rail freight and multimodal services in JU. I'm going to try to deliver in a nutshell what is it. Giorgio has already told you more or less the TRL level, the funding, so I'm not going to repeat. I will let you know that it's expected to be a 24 months duration project. And in a nutshell, the challenge here is try to develop kind of a I would say telephone directory or an internet directory or a a recipe book or cookbook on how to better use the rail facilities for freight shipments. So basically, sometimes, although companies do have pressure to put freight onto railways, they cannot because they don't know where to put it. Where are the actual flows going? Where are the corridors, etc., etc. It's a bit of lack of information of where do I find the places where I can easily find the routes, the easy routes from A to B, and how to make the last mile. So basically, it's a bit of a web-based handbook where you can identify the biggest flows that are already happening on rail, so you can manage a bit with freight forwarders, etc., your last mile, so you can get into them and facilitate this kind of movements from road to freight, rail freight. So it's this is the kind of challenge this call is facing. This comes not only with the logistic challenge, because you need to define not only what are the alternatives, but this need to be feasible. This means that from the cost-benefit analysis, it makes sense. So that change that you're making, it is something that it has a meaning within this cost-benefit analysis, and also that it is feasible regarding the potential agreements that already companies do have, long-term agreements regarding shipments and with other companies. So maybe how can you facilitate the move from an already existing long-term agreement using other means to this one? So basically, it's a mix, very pragmatic and practical starter kit for a company, small middle enterprise that would like to start to use seriously rail freight as a solution. So basically, just to give where they can make the routes to move the freight goods. Second, how much would it cost? And third, how can they overcome the potential legal barriers they already have due to engagement in long-term agreements with other suppliers? So how to make the change? This project is a project that is expected to work with already existing projects within the JU. One is called Transforming for Rail, where there is the appetite and the aim to deliver online booking system and dynamic booking systems. This is to say, this project is going to deliver just a static picture of how are the routes, so basically the timetables and how possible the things are. And if you want to really know if it's available or not, or if it's space or not, then it's something that it will be done out of this call. It will be done ideally in within the flagship project 5. So the expectation is that there is a bit of a communication and cross-fertilization is important. Also, there is like the intention to have a lot of collaboration with 2 Horizon projects, CL5, basically regarding freight logistics, that very much within these lines we have said. So I think there is a potential synergy there. No? Moving to the next one, I would like to say, apart from what has been already regarding the TRL and the budget, that this is again a 24 months project. And this is, in a nutshell, could be said like, let us find together the killer application to boost freight. No? So we can say, for example, that portable computers in 1982 were something that got into the market because spreadsheets were something done for these portable computers. So that's the kind of application that spread this widely over the companies. So middle management could start doing their own massive calculations without with a lot of improvement in performance and productivity. So somehow we are looking here for killer applications that will make use of this new enhanced capacity, reliability, and better cost base platform for the rail freight that we're going to deliver in FP5. So basically, let's think about added value services that are going to really attract people to move to rail freight. Of course, this needs to come with a feasibility plan that cannot be foreign to a cost-benefit analysis and cannot be foreign to what is a legal framework. No, so this is in a nutshell the challenge. I think is quite an interesting one. Is try to find a killer application that is going to really seduce and attract a lot of traffic from roads to rail freight. Finally, we've got a coordination and support action. This is an action that has no TRL because it mainly supports the activity of the JU regarding the development of the EDDP, the European Duct Delivery Program, which main aim is to introduce digital automatic couplers within the European Union railway area. This is a 36 months duration project. And basically, the expectation is to support the deployment of the EDDP and especially the FP5, taking into account very detailed activities, very much to birth into a feasible ground the technological development of the digital automatic coupler. This means sizing in a much accurate and precise way the fleet number, how many elements need to be addressed, how are these elements going to be addressed in the market, I mean, how many workshops, how are these workshops are going to prepare, then what about the financing plan, where can this be financed, and what are the financing needs, a bit of how this is the cash flow supply. Then regarding the companies and users, how the safety management systems do need to change, what about the workers there, what is like the training they need to do. And then regulatory frameworks, support to identification of the authorization process, because this can be a massive authorization process, and support with the European Railway Agency within the TSI revision for the wagon TSI and all the TSIs that are impacted by the digital automatic coupler. I have made a big effort to try to summarize these three very interesting topics, and but if there is anything that is left, if there is anything you feel you would like to know a bit more, I invite you, please do not hesitate, ask more in these breakout rooms that will be available to answer any other question. And I think I've made my best, and it's like a bit 6 minutes over the time, and I pass the floor to Giorgio.
Thank you, Manuel. And maybe just before starting the Q&A, I see that some questions were already popping up in the chat. Just to make a clarification that the fifth topic of the exploratory research does not only deals with freight, it's also about passenger. As written, you can see there in the title. So it's really looking into how automatization and digitalization can enable new services, both for passenger and for freight. So now it is time for the question and answer. So I would suggest that you post them as much as possible in the chat, and we will try to reply them in a live time. So I see that there is a question by Veronica concerning the bridge dynamic topics, which indicates it is only 1 million euro, and you can see it here. But he has 11 work stream, how this is matching. So briefly answering to that, you can see, and maybe something that it was my fault because I haven't explained it in the introductory slide. Innovation action has a difference compare research and innovation action, not only in TRL level, but also on funding level. Meaning that this innovation action for non-public non-public companies or institutes is at 70%. So actually the real budget of this topic proposal is expected to be higher, And that's why in the previous slide, you could have seen, for example, that the expected budget that we plan to have in terms of total projects, it is higher than the funding. So having said this, also in this particular topic, we went very much into the details. So it's the only topic that is quite prescriptive. And the reason for it is also, as mentioned by my colleague Sebastien, that we are planning to really have an input to the work of the European Union Agency for Railway and also the standardization bodies. And that's the reason why we specified, let me say, those 11 work packages into the detail, but those 11 work packages doesn't necessarily mean more work than when we specify, for example, only 2 work packages. When we specify only 2 work packages in other type of actions, we basically provide more liberty to the project proposal to set up an appropriate structure. Here, being more result-oriented towards standardization and regulation activities, we have been much more prescriptive, and this is one of the reasons why you see this difference compared to topics. Another question by Stefano is, what are your expectations in terms of size of the network of PhD? Is it an objective to bring together a large number of countries and institutions? So short answer, yes. So we are planning to put in place a network. And based on this network, which of course is expected to include several countries and institutions, PhD can be derived and PhD can be launched as a European also PhD. I see that Maria is indicating the breakout room in which she wants to participate. If you are unable to put the poll, we will manually put you in the breakout room. My communication colleagues will deal with it. So indeed, don't hesitate to add your interest if you cannot click in the poll in the chat. I see Pedro that is asking if regarding the bridge dynamic, if we need to fulfill all the work stream in the proposal. So the answer is yes. Usually we indicate it in the call text if all the work streams needs to be covered. And do we need to define a work package for each work stream, or we can merge work stream in the same work package? You can do as you want. So it's really your proposal. How do you think it fit best for the operationalize it? The important thing is that indeed all work streams are covered. How is the funding for public organization? So public organization in the case of innovation action can get the funding up to 100%, but later on also my colleague Valerie will better explain it. General question, what is the idea of, from Tom, what is the idea of selecting, as indicated, only one proposal per topic? For many of the topic, quite different proposal come up, and funding, for example, 2 of those would help to explore different approaches. You are right, but our idea is also to ensure that the 10 topics that we have put on the table are also covered. So in practice, what it means is that we will make a ranking list for each of those topics. So we are expecting to finance the #1 ranking list for each topic. So it's competitive, as was mentioned before by the European Commission. We are really looking forward for you to give some difficulties to the expert to rank the proposal, so that we expect that all proposals will be good. But as I mentioned before as well, in the event where we have some budget saving because not all proposals are asking the total amount of money available, we could finance more than one proposal per topic, or also in the event, I think hopefully unlikely, that no good proposal or no proposal at all are submitted in some topic, then in this case we can also think of financing indeed the complementary approaches of two proposals under the same topic. A question from Michael. Do industry partners in the bridge dynamic necessarily have to be involved? Is that a requirement? I don't remember by heart. I don't know if my colleague Sebastian can jump in and remind it to us. Otherwise, we will come back to you in writing. In any case, we will try to cover all those questions also in the Q&A. But usually, if they needs to be involved, it is written in the call text. Then Arzu wrote, for innovation action and profit organization, is the funding rate 60 or 70? It's 70%. From Michael, how is the funding for SME? SME, it's also 70% for innovation action or 100% for research and innovation action and coordinated and support action. So a question, I think, yes, we still have some questions. So from Pedro, UK organizations are able to participate. We will cover this, Pedro, in the presentation of my colleague Valérie. So wait just a bit after the coffee break. What type, from Alexander, what type of mix organization are needed in terms of partners in the proposal? If there is a need of a public organization, if there are a minimum number of partners, if there are requirements of multiple EU countries. So for the two last question, if there is a minimum number of partners and a requirement of multiple EU country, also this will be covered in the presentation by Valérie. It is part of the rules of Horizon Europe. And for the first question, in terms of is there a need of a specific organization type, then this, if there is, it is written in the call text. If not written in the call text, then there is no specific need. From Simone, please, can you repeat what are the requirements of a consultant for applying to the Europe's REGI-EU call? So the requirements are simply the requirements of Horizon Europe, and Valérie will explain to you in the presentation again after the coffee break what exactly are those requirements, but are the standard requirements of the Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking. If there is just one small difference, if the members of the joint undertakings will participate in a consortium, they will need also to top up the funding that we receive with additional activities contribution, which we call in-kind contribution for additional activities. But these only concern the members of the Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking that needs to contribute with more. Then a question for Marcos. What about the leverage of tenfold in-kind contribution requested in FP 703? Will there be a mechanism for auditing those non-funded contribution? How those non-funded contribution claim later in the project implementation and report? So first of all, something that also will be explained later on, and I didn't mention yet, but this work program is applying the lump sum concept for all its topics. This means in practice that in your proposal preparation, you need to provide a cost estimation accordingly to the rules that later on my colleague Vincent will explain to you. But there will be no specific audit on those costs. But indeed, in the reporting of your project implementation activities, we are expecting also that you report also on this leverage effect, because it's part of the program or the project itself that you have submitted to us, including this tenfold activities. But also there, bear a bit with us. I've been a bit generic in the reply, but my colleague Vincent in his presentation will go much more into the detail. So it appears there are no more questions in the chat, and this means that we are a little bit in advance with our coffee break session. And I will then suggest that we launch the coffee break, and we rejoin each other as per schedule at 10:30. So it will be a little bit longer coffee break. And then later on, we will have the opportunity to listen to the presentation of my colleague Valérie and Vincent, and also there you will have afterwards some Q&A if a few aspects are still not clear. And again, maybe take the opportunity of this coffee break. If you haven't selected yet one breakout room session for the end of this morning, when we will have 1 hour matchmaking event that will be introduced by Greenet, which is the project of regrouping national contact point for transport. Also, they will present you more into the detail how the matchmaking event will happen. But take the opportunity already now to click on the breakout room where you would like to attend based on the topics of your interest. Sorry, I still see one last question, and then we can go for the coffee break from. If you could assign, okay, this is just for the assignment of the coffee break of the breakout room. Very good, thank you very much, and we open then the coffee break until 10:30.